Hi, welcome to my channel, She Talks Systems. My name is Nicola Melinda and I am a verified ClickUp consultant. This channel is dedicated to helping you understand how you can really maximize the use of ClickUp in your business, whether that is working on projects, working with clients, and even working with your team. Then this channel will give you some ideas, tips and tricks on how you can achieve just that. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking through how you can use ClickUp to effectively manage your team. As you know, a project management tool is the number one tool for aligning your team across your business, making sure that everyone is working on the same page and you can actually achieve great results all together. However, working with clients, I often come across the same struggles. They're not sure on best practices, they get confused on where to find their work in the workspace, they don't know how to organize tasks, and sometimes a lot of things like communication and notifications often falls through the cracks. Even though you have ClickUp or you have been using a similar project management tool and you're still not using it effectively as a team, there are definitely some features in ClickUp that can help you to make improvements. A lot of this is going to come down to defining best practices and also team training, how you encourage your team to use the platform, how you promote the platform within the business is definitely going to be a game changer. So for those who are new to bringing ClickUp into the business, if you're new to using project management tools, and if you are aligning your team into one project management tool, be ready for some adjustments along the way. But hopefully this video will give you some good guiding points so that you can feel a lot more confident about rolling this out to your team so that you guys can get the best results moving forward. And as a side note, if you do need some support in this area, I am a verified consultant and I do work with clients in their workspace. Check out the link below to learn more about my services and how I can help you if this is something that you're really struggling with and you really do need some guidance and one-on-one support. Okay, so obviously we're using ClickUp to help first and foremost to manage our tasks. And so often what can happen is where we have a lot of projects or a lot of different tasks in place in ClickUp, it can quickly get lost if we are not using some best practices. And as a high level place where we are talking about best practices, I'm talking about giving the task an assignee, making sure the right people are assigned to the right task so that they know that they have to do their job. Also applying correct due dates to the task, and also bearing in mind if you do have some due dates that require some buffer time, perhaps for quality assessment and making sure that work is good to send to the clients, then you might also want to just factor in a bit of buffer time so that your team don't feel the pressure when it comes to sticking to the deadline. So assigning your tasks within your workspace is definitely going to be a number one way to make it more effective. And the benefit of doing this is if your team are struggling to find their work, then you can encourage them to use a little feature inside of the platform called Me Mode. Me Mode is a great feature that helps you to basically filter out all of the tasks from everybody else, and it follows that team member throughout the entire workspace. So if they are struggling to keep an eye on where their work is living, what tasks they need to be focused on, this will help them to manage that. But as the project manager or the OBM, whoever is assigning the task inside of ClickUp needs to ensure that it's going to the correct assignees and also that the correct due dates are being applied to the task itself. The next area that we've slightly touched on is optimizing the views at the everything level, but also showing your team how they can optimize their own views as well, because when they sign into ClickUp, they can also create their own views that can support them. A simple way of doing this is just setting up a view at the everything level called My Tasks. If they go to that view and create a list view, then what they can do is just filter that view so that it's just on Me Mode. Having that list set in and grouping the tasks based on the due date will give your team member a clear and easy area to go to find out what work they need to focus on for the day, what's coming up for the week, and what's coming up in future. Now you might also ask, well, isn't that what the home view is for as well? And yes, the home view can also help you to understand what work is coming up, and you can simplify the home view even more so now on as an individual by adding and removing cards on the home view screen so they can see what's assigned to them, what is coming up for the day, what reminders they have, what comments they have. But also at the everything level, and using me mode, these two options will definitely help your team to actually find the work instead of having to click out of lists and folders and just getting lost in the workspace itself. The next area that can come up as a pain point is knowing how can we communicate as a team. So if you're finding in your business that a lot of communications is still happening over email, and maybe updates on tasks are not being captured in an organized way, here's where ClickUp can step in to really help you to fix that problem. So as a rule of thumb, I encourage that any communication that is task-based should actually be sat within the task that is set in ClickUp. And that means that all of your tasks, not just the major big projects, but every single task that is going on within your agency, within your team, needs to go inside of ClickUp. It must live somewhere in ClickUp. If it doesn't live in ClickUp, then it doesn't exist. So by putting the tasks within ClickUp, what it means is that you can encourage your team to share task-specific comments within the ClickUp task. And what this does is it helps to eliminate the traffic, the email traffic. Perhaps there's a lot of conversation going on in Slack, if you use Slack, or maybe just back and forth in general. And it also eliminates any confusion. What I love about using the comments in ClickUp is you always have this paper trail. So there's always a digital footprint of activity that shows you what comments have been added, when that comment has been placed there. And then for your team member, they can go into their inbox to find the comments that have been left for them. So they can address their comments, they can open the task directly from the inbox section, and this is going to help them to just run through what's waiting for their response, and also they can also get responses back quickly as you're working on various tasks. So another area that will help you to be much more effective in ClickUp is setting up some best practices. Now, these can vary based on how you like to work in your business. I like to encourage my clients to set up some best practices that can really help with the wider business and thinking about things on a much larger scale. So if the goal is for you to take on more clients or to expand the team, where you have set these best practices in place, it means that everyone is essentially working from the same playbook. So some examples of best practices that you can put in place in working in ClickUp might be looking like who is responsible for creating and assigning and managing the tasks inside of ClickUp. It could be down to your project manager, or if you have an OBM, an online business manager, or an account manager who is responsible for certain accounts within your business. They may be the individuals responsible for creating and assigning and managing the progress of those tasks. So make sure that everyone understands who is responsible for doing that, and the rule really should be that anyone else can just get on with their work and they don't need to worry about creating or assigning or updating tasks. For the wider team, their only responsibility is to make sure they're commenting on tasks and updating the tasks. Which brings me to my next best practice tip, is making sure everyone knows who should be updating the statuses. Sometimes it's best that only the project manager updates the status of that task, again, depending on the types of statuses that you have in place within your workspace. If, however, you are using statuses and they're very high level, as an example, you might be using to do, in progress, in review. These are very high level statuses that you as a project manager or as a CEO might be managing for your team. However, you can also utilize custom fields that allow your team to also let you know what stage of the project they are at. So for example, if you're working on a marketing project and you might have various stages, such as they're just working on the task, perhaps they're editing, the task is in revision, and even some updates that the task is in review with the client or the team. You could have your team members update the custom fields instead and leave the statuses alone. So in terms of closing down tasks, that might be only for your project manager, but for updating various stages of the task and where it's at, you could delegate that. You could have your team own that part of the process. So having an understanding of who does what, who's responsible for updating certain parts of the task will definitely eliminate any confusion, and it also puts the onus on your team as well to ensure that they are updating their work inside of ClickUp. It's not just down to one person. So the next best practice that I would recommend is thinking about how you will handle file sharing inside of ClickUp. So if you are working with clients, perhaps you're producing different assets, copy assets, digital assets, and you're sharing these between the team, then think about how these will be filed and stored, how they should be shared within the team as well. So my recommendation would definitely to be using either a Google Drive or a Dropbox, where you can share the links to those assets so that everybody or whoever is on the project can access that asset. I don't personally recommend attaching the actual attachments to the task. Instead, just using an external file sharing facility can help you to do that. So Google Drive is my number one recommendation. It's probably the most used recommendation. You also have other options such as Dropbox that you can also use to share Dropbox or SharePoint to share files amongst the team. And then you can simply just tag in an access link or the share link into the task inside of ClickUp. So my next area for making sure that ClickUp is effective is using templates. Templates will make it much easier for you to ensure that your team are following the same processes and the same steps to deliver work throughout your projects. So if, for example, you have various projects that you specialize in, whether that's web design projects, whether you do ads, copywriting projects, whether you do implementation projects similar to myself, having templates for these type of projects and also ensuring that the task templates as well are set up and structured with the right checklist steps, the right process steps, the right information will really set your team up for success. This is a really effective way of utilizing this feature in ClickUp, because you can also apply templates based on automations, but even just having the list saved down in your workspace and for your team to be able to access makes life so much easier. So it eliminates any misunderstandings on how you get things done, and it makes sure that you can continue to deliver your work at a consistently high standard when you are working with clients as well. The next recommendation when you are working with a team in ClickUp is to put in place a ClickUp champion, someone who knows and manages and owns the workspace. When I say owns the workspace, I don't mean they're paying the bill. It could be you paying the bill though, but what I mean is having a champion, someone that everybody knows to go to if they have questions, if they need to make adjustments, if they are needing updates to templates, updates to custom fields, they're looking to add an additional automation, whatever those elements and changes may be. Now, your ClickUp champion will also be the person who can create new docs. They can provide access to guests inside of the workspace. So if you bring clients into the workspace, they'll be responsible for adding and removing those individuals. They will also be responsible for making sure everything is tidy. You're using tags correctly, you're categorizing your documents, your templates, everything that is being created is being properly used inside of the workspace. It's essentially like your in-house ClickUp manager. What this does is it alleviates the pressure of the team of people wondering, well, who do I go to manage this platform? Is it the responsibility of everyone? Too many chefs ruin the broth. We've heard that phrase before. And so this is where we have one person that we can go to ensure that that individual is responsible for making sure ClickUp works like a well-oiled machine in your business. Do drop a comment and let me know what points have really resonated with you. What are you struggling with, or what do you think you need to do better at implementing inside of your workspace and encouraging your team members to do as well? Like I mentioned at the start of the video as well, I do work with teams, agencies who really need to maximize their use of ClickUp and implement a lot of these practices into their business. So check out my services link below if you do want to get in touch with support like that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so that you get notified of new videos that drop onto the channel and you can get more of this content. Until next time, I'll see you later.